Hello, and welcome. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most common, and sometimes most frustrating, situations for any English learner. It's a moment that should be fun and easy, but can often feel like a final exam you didn't study for. Picture this. You've just finished watching the biggest movie of the year. Or maybe you've just turned the last page of a book that everyone is talking about. Your mind is buzzing with thoughts, emotions, and ideas. The next day, a friend or a colleague turns to you, their eyes bright with excitement, and asks the simple question, "So, what did you think?" And in that moment, your entire, rich internal world collapses. It collapses into two disappointingly simple words. It was good. Or maybe, I liked it. There's a short, awkward pause. Your friend nods, says, "Yeah, me too." And the conversation moves on. You're left standing there feeling incomplete. You feel like you had a 5-course meal of thoughts and emotions, but all you could tell your friend was that the food was tasty. You didn't do the story justice. And more importantly, you didn't do your experience of the story justice. Why does this happen? It's not because you don't have opinions. It's because talking about art, books, movies, TV shows feels like it requires a special vocabulary, a secret code that native speakers seem to know instinctively. They talk about pacing and character arcs, cinematography and themes. Can feel intimidating, like you need to be a professional critic just to share your opinion. But I'm here to tell you that is not true. Today, we are going to unlock that secret code. We're going to build a simple, 3-layer framework that will allow you to talk about any book, movie, or show with confidence and depth. This isn't about sounding like a film professor. It's about learning how to accurately and engagingly express what you truly think and feel. It's about turning "it was good" into a fascinating conversation starter. So, if you're ready to finally share the incredible world of stories that lives inside your head, let's begin. Layer 1. The gut reaction, your emotional compass. The first and most important step in talking about any piece of art is to honor your immediate gut reaction. How did it make you feel? This is your starting point. Your emotional compass. The problem is, our emotional compass in English often defaults to good or bad. We need to expand our vocabulary. Think of it like this. Good is a blunt instrument. It gets the job done, but it's not precise. What we need is a toolkit of sharper, more specific words that capture the flavor of your experience. So, let's build that toolkit right now. Instead of good, what if you tried one of these? If a story grabbed you and you couldn't put it down or look away, you could say it was captivating or gripping. I couldn't stop reading. The story was absolutely captivating. Engrossing. I was completely engrossed in the world the author created. If a story made you think deeply, you could say it was thought-provoking. It was a really thought-provoking film. I'm still thinking about it today. Profound. For a simple story, it had some surprisingly profound messages. If a story was full of emotion, you could say it was heartbreaking. I won't spoil it, but the ending was just heartbreaking. Heartwarming or uplifting. It was such a heartwarming story. A perfect movie for a rainy day. Hilarious. I haven't laughed that hard in ages. The dialogue was hilarious. And what if you didn't like it? Instead of just bad, let's get more specific. If it was boring, you could say it was underwhelming. After all the hype, I found it pretty underwhelming. Slow-paced or a bit of a drag. The first hour was so slow-paced it was a bit of a drag to get through. If you felt it wasn't very original, you could say it was predictable. The plot was so predictable. I guessed the ending in the first 20 minutes. Cliché. The characters felt a bit cliché, like I'd seen them 100 times before. And what about that gray area in between? Sometimes our feelings are mixed. This is a very natural and sophisticated way to feel. You could say, I had mixed feelings about it. It had its moments, but overall, it didn't quite work for me. The first half was brilliant, but I felt like the second half lost its way a little. This first layer is your new starting point. The next time someone asks you what you thought, take a breath, consult your emotional compass, and pick a more precise word. Honestly, I found it a little predictable. Or, it was surprisingly thought-provoking. You have immediately made the conversation more interesting. You've given your listener a hook, a reason to ask the most important follow-up question. Oh, really? Why? And that question leads us perfectly to our second layer. Layer 2, the specific reason, the why behind the what. This is where the real magic happens. Layer 2 is about connecting your gut feeling from layer 1 to a specific element inside the story. You're providing the evidence for your opinion. This is what makes your perspective credible and interesting. Every story, whether it's a book, a movie, or a TV show, is made up of several key ingredients. To talk about a story like a native, you just need to learn to identify these ingredients and talk about them one at a time. Let's break them down. 1. The plot/the storyline. This is what happens in the story. Was it exciting? Was it confusing? You might say, the reason I found it so gripping was the plot. It was so well crafted and full of twists and turns I never saw coming. I felt it was predictable because the storyline was almost identical to another movie I saw last year. The pacing felt a little off. The beginning was really slow, and then the ending felt rushed. The plot had a few holes in it if you think about it too much, but it was a fun ride. 2. The characters. These are the people or creatures who drive the story. Did you love them? Hate them? Believe them? You might say, what made it so heartwarming for me were the characters. I found the main character so relatable, and her journey was inspiring. I had a hard time getting into it because the characters felt so one-dimensional. I just didn't care what happened to them. The character arc of the villain was fascinating. You really understood his motivations. For movies/TV, the chemistry between the two leads was incredible. You really believed they were in love. 3. The performance/the writing style. This is about how the story was told. In a film, this is the acting. In a book, this is the author's prose. You might say, for a movie, the lead actor's performance was just mesmerizing. She carried the whole film. For a book, I loved the author's writing style. The prose was so beautiful and poetic. I had to reread some sentences just to appreciate them. The reason I found it so hilarious was the dialogue. It was so sharp and witty. The narration was a bit confusing. It kept jumping between timelines, and it was hard to follow. 4. The visuals/the atmosphere/the world building. This is about the world the story creates. How did it look and feel? You might say, for a movie, you have to see it on a big screen. The cinematography was breathtaking. Every shot was like a painting. For a movie, the soundtrack and score were amazing. They added so much to the tension and emotion. For a book, the world building was phenomenal. I felt like I was actually living in that fantasy city. The author created such a rich and detailed atmosphere. The reason I found it thought-provoking was the mood it created. It was dark and gritty, and it really made you feel the desperation of the characters. Do you see what we're doing here? We are simply taking our gut feeling from layer 1, it was breathtaking, and attaching it to a specific reason from layer 2, because the cinematography was incredible. It was a bit of a letdown, layer 1, because the characters felt so one-dimensional, layer 2. I found it so captivating, layer 1, because the plot was full of twists I didn't see coming, layer 2. You are now building a complete, compelling opinion. You're not just saying you liked it. You're explaining why. And that is the key to all great conversations. But there is one more layer. A final step that can elevate your conversation from a simple review to a truly meaningful connection. Layer 3, the big connection, the so what. This is the layer that separates a good conversationalist from a great one. Layer 3 is about connecting the story to something bigger than the story itself. It's about connecting it to your own life, to the world, or to other stories. This is the so what question. So you read a book, so what? What did it do for you? What did it make you think? This layer is where you share a piece of yourself, and it's what makes a conversation truly memorable. Here are a few ways to access Layer 3. 1. Connect it to your own life. The main character's struggle with her career really reminded me of a time in my own life when I felt lost. It really resonated with me. It made me think about my relationship with my own family. 2. Connect it to a bigger idea or theme. What I found so thought-provoking was its theme of friendship. It really explored what it means to be there for someone, no matter what. It was a powerful social commentary on wealth and class. It gave me a lot to think about. Ultimately, I think the story was a metaphor for the challenges of growing up. 3. Connect it to other books, movies, or shows. If you liked that book, you should definitely read another book. It explores a similar theme, but in a completely different way. The style reminded me of another director's work, but I think this one had more heart. It felt like a modern take on a classic fairy tale. This final layer is where real connection happens. When you share how a story made you reflect on your own life, you are no longer just a critic. You are a person sharing an experience. You are being vulnerable and authentic, and you invite the other person to do the same, weaving the layers into a real conversation. So, let's put our 3 layers together. Imagine your friend asks you what you thought of a new sci-fi movie. The old way, friend. So, what did you think of Cosmic Drift? You. It was good. Friend. Yeah. Cool. Conversation ends. The new way, using the 3 layers, friend. So, what did you think of Cosmic Drift? You. Layer 1. I thought it was absolutely breathtaking, but also surprisingly thought-provoking. Friend. Oh yeah? What did you like about it? You. Layer 2. Well, the visuals were obviously stunning. The cinematography was out of this world. But what really stuck with me was the main character's story. Her struggle to find her place in the universe felt so relatable, even though she was in space. Friend. Totally. I felt the same way about her. You. Layer 3. Yeah. And it really made me think about how we all feel a little adrift sometimes, searching for connection. In a way, its theme wasn't really about space at all. It was about loneliness. It reminded me a bit of that other film, Gravity, but this one felt more hopeful to me. Look at that conversation. It's deep, it's interesting, and it flows naturally. You started with your gut feeling. You backed it up with specific reasons, and you connected it to a bigger, universal idea. You didn't just review a movie. You shared an experience. So, the secret to talking about books, movies, and TV shows like a native isn't about having a massive vocabulary or a degree in literature. It's about having a structure for your thoughts. It's about moving from your gut to the details, to the big picture. What? Why? So what? Here is my challenge to you. The next time you finish a chapter of a book or an episode of a show, pause for just 30 seconds. Ask yourself, what's my one-word gut reaction? Captivating? Underwhelming? What is one specific thing, a character, a line of dialogue, a scene that made me feel that way? Did this make me think of anything in my own life or in the world? You don't have to have a perfect answer. The goal is just to practice. Practice turning your passive experience of watching or reading into an active process of understanding your own response. Because your thoughts are not good or bad. They are unique, complex, and valuable. Stories are the currency of human connection, and now you have the tools to spend that currency freely, to share your inner world with confidence, and to turn a simple question into the beginning of a beautiful conversation.